Tara, I found something.
That was the last time anyone heard Emma Hartley's voice. 43 seconds after this call, the elevator reached the ground floor. The doors opened. Emma Hartley was not inside. Her phone lay shattered on the floor. Her laptop, screen cracked. The SD card, gone. But here's what the police didn't know yet. The building's security system had been compromised for months. And the man who took Emma? He had help from the inside. 6 months before she vanished, Emma Hartley stood in the lobby of the Riverside Apartments and felt something she hadn't felt in years. Safe. She'd chosen this building carefully. Key card access, 24-hour security desk, cameras in every hallway. After 3 years with Daniel, 3 years of walking on eggshells, of checking her phone obsessively, of being told she was too sensitive and imagining things, she needed walls that felt like armor. The breakup had been ugly. Daniel didn't take rejection well. He'd shown up at her old apartment twice after she ended things, left voicemails that oscillated between tearful apologies and accusations. Her friends had started using the word stalker. Emma wasn't ready for that word yet. But she was ready to disappear. Riverside Apartments was her fresh start. New address, new locks, new life. And for 4 months, it worked. Emma threw herself into her job at Zenith Design Studio. She was the lead developer on an eco-friendly water filtration system, the kind of project that made the grueling hours feel meaningful. 16-hour days, 3 hours of sleep, coffee replacing meals. Her sister Sarah worried. Her coworkers noticed the weight loss, the dark circles. But Emma was proud. Exhausted, yes. Running on fumes, absolutely. But for the first time since Daniel, she felt in control of her own life. 1 week before she vanished, Emma left her sister a voicemail. "Hey sis, the prototype testing came back perfect. I've been working insane hours, but it's worth it. This could actually help people, you know? I finally feel like myself again, like the version of me that existed before Daniel. Anyway, don't forget Mom's birthday Thursday. Love you." She had no idea that her safe place had been compromised from the very first week she moved in. October 28th, 3 weeks before the disappearance. Late that night, Emma texted her sister, "Do you ever get the feeling someone's moved your stuff? Like, just slightly?" Sarah responded, "LOL, you're so organized you'd notice if a pen moved an inch. Why?" Emma's reply, "I don't know. Probably nothing. Forget it." But it wasn't nothing. And Emma didn't forget. Emma was meticulous by nature. Everything in its place. Her coffee mug always faced handle right. Her books arranged by height. Her bedroom door always closed when she left. These weren't compulsions. They were her way of maintaining order in a world that had felt chaotic for too long. So when things started moving, she noticed immediately. The coffee mug, facing left. A book shifted one position on the shelf. Her bedroom door standing slightly ajar when she returned from a coffee run, she distinctly remembered closing it. Emma started documenting. Photos time-stamped before and after. A journal of every anomaly. November 1st. Her journal entry reads, "I sound insane writing this, but I'm not imagining it. Someone has been in my apartment. The air feels different when I come home, like someone else's presence lingers. I thought I escaped this feeling when I left Daniel. Why is it following me?" She didn't know it yet, but Emma was right. And the person watching her had been doing it since the day she moved in. Her first thought, of course, was Daniel. She checked her locks, changed her passwords, scoured social media to see if he'd somehow found her new address. She even drove past his apartment one night, hating herself for it, just to confirm his car was there. It was. Daniel was home, 3 miles away, completely unaware that Emma was spiraling. But if it wasn't Daniel, then who? November 3rd. Emma walked into the building management office and filed a formal complaint. Robert Chen, the building manager, listened politely. He checked the maintenance logs. No work orders for Unit 7C in 6 weeks. He pulled the access records. Only Emma's keycard had been used. Is anything missing? He asked. Nothing was missing. Nothing was damaged. That was the problem. Emma requested the hallway security footage. Robert agreed. They sat together in the cramped security office, scrolling through hours of footage. Delivery drivers, residents, the cleaning crew on Tuesdays. Everything looked normal. Then Emma saw it. November 8th, 3:17 a.m. A figure in a dark jacket and baseball cap standing motionless outside her door. For 11 minutes. Not knocking, not testing the handle, just standing there. At 3:28 a.m., the figure walked toward the fire exit, never once looking up at the camera. Who is that? Emma's voice shook. Robert zoomed in. The cap's brim cast a deep shadow. The angle made identification impossible. Could be a resident who got confused about their floor. Could be someone waiting for a friend. For 11 minutes? At 3 a.m.? Outside my door? Robert promised to enhance the image, check other angles. But Emma noticed something he didn't mention. The figure was wearing work boots, heavy-soled, industrial, the kind maintenance workers wore. She filed that detail away. It would matter later. That night, Emma bought 3 deadbolts, a door stopper, and a personal alarm from the hardware store. She installed them herself, hands trembling as she drilled into the frame. Her sister called during the installation. Maybe you should talk to someone? You've been working yourself to exhaustion. Stress can make us see patterns that aren't there. I saw the footage, Sarah. Someone stood outside my door for 11 minutes, and security couldn't identify them. When's the last time you slept a full night? Emma hung up without answering. Even her own sister didn't believe her. She was completely alone. November 12th, 5 days before Emma vanished. 2:43 a.m. Emma woke to a sound that stopped her heart. Her door handle, clicking. Someone testing the lock. The extra deadbolts held, but Emma didn't sleep again that night. She called the police at 2:51 a.m. An officer arrived at 3:34 a.m. He took her statement. He requested the hallway footage. And then Emma noticed something that changed everything. The timestamp jumped. 2:41 a.m. Then, suddenly, 2:45 a.m. 4 minutes were missing. That's concerning, the officer admitted. Could be evidence of tampering. For the first time, someone was taking her seriously. But then the officer continued, the problem is, we can't prove who tampered with it. Could be a remote hack. Could be a loop inserted. Could be a system glitch. These older systems crash sometimes. Emma felt her hope deflating. So what happens now? I'm filing this as suspicious, recommending a security audit. But without visual evidence of who was at your door, this stays a civil matter. What the officer didn't tell Emma, what he didn't know himself, was that this was the 3rd report of footage gaps on the 7th floor that year, all within a few months of each other, all dismissed as technical malfunctions. Someone had access to the security system. Someone who knew exactly how to create blind spots. The next morning, Emma knocked on her neighbors' doors. Thomas Garrett in 7B, a nurse who worked night shifts, answered in scrubs, looking exhausted. He hadn't heard anything. Slept like the dead after his shifts, he said. But something in his eyes made Emma uncomfortable. The way he looked at her a beat too long. The way he already seemed to know why she was asking. Mrs. Patterson, in 7A, an elderly woman who'd lived in the building 20 years, was more helpful. I heard footsteps, she said. Heavy footsteps. Pacing. I thought it was you, dear. I never left my apartment. Mrs. Patterson's face went pale. But then she said something that made Emma's blood run cold. You know, I saw the maintenance man the other day, near the empty apartment, 7D. There hasn't been any maintenance scheduled. Well, he had a uniform. Those boots they all wear. I just assumed. The boots. The same heavy work boots Emma had seen in the footage. Emma went back to Robert Chen. She asked about the vacant apartment next door, 7D. It's been empty 2 months, Robert said. Who has access? Building management. Maintenance contractors, when needed. That's it. My neighbor saw someone in a maintenance uniform near that apartment. Recently. Robert checked his records. There was a routine inspection logged last week. Standard procedure for vacant units. Emma felt like she was chasing ghosts. Every lead circled back to routine, standard procedure. Nothing unusual. But someone was lying. And Emma was running out of time to figure out who. November 15th, 2 days before the disappearance. Emma called in sick for the first time in her career. She couldn't focus, couldn't eat. Every shadow looked like a person, every creak sounded like footsteps. She'd started sleeping with the lights on, her back against the wall, phone in her hand. That night, she did something desperate. She set up her phone on a timer across the room, angled to photograph her bed while she slept. If someone was coming in, she'd have proof. November 16th. She reviewed the photos from the night before. In one frame, time-stamped 3:47 a.m., there was something in the corner. A shape. Dark. Vaguely human. Standing near her bedroom door. Emma's hands trembled so violently she nearly dropped her phone. She zoomed in until the pixels blurred. It could have been a shadow from her curtain, a trick of light. Or it could have been a person watching her sleep. She sent the photo to Sarah. Do you see it? In the corner? Sarah video called immediately. Her face was tight with worry. Em, I see something, but it could be your curtain. The way the streetlight comes through. What if someone was in my room while I slept? Then you need to leave. Tonight. Come stay with me. And go where? Run forever. This is my home. I'm not letting anyone take that from me. The call lasted 2 hours. Sarah would later describe her sister as spiraling, questioning her own sanity, asking how anyone could know if they were losing their mind. Exhausted, terrified, completely isolated. Sarah begged Emma to leave. Emma refused. When they finally hung up, Sarah felt a deep sense of dread, a feeling she should have done more, said more. Driven to the apartment and dragged her sister out by force. It was the last time she would speak to Emma for 72 hours. November 17th. Emma forced herself to work. The product launch presentation was due Monday, the culmination of 8 months of her life. She sat at her laptop, typing through tears, trying to focus on graphs and data points, while her mind screamed that someone was watching her right now. At noon, she made herself leave the apartment. Coffee, fresh air, proof she could still function. The barista at her usual shop noticed her appearance. Rough week? This one's on the house. That small kindness nearly broke her. She walked back to her building, clutching the coffee like a lifeline. She didn't notice the silver Honda Civic parked across the street. Didn't notice the figure watching from the driver's seat. By 6 p.m., Emma had finished the presentation. She sent it to her supervisor with a note. Looking forward to Monday. This is going to change everything. She had no idea how right she was. At 9:34 p.m., she heard footsteps in the hallway. Heavy, deliberate. They stopped outside her door. She called building security. The guard, a new hire named Kevin Torres, checked the cameras. Hallway's empty, Miss Hartley. There's no one there. But I heard... Ma'am, with all due respect, you've called us 4 times this week. Maybe you should speak with someone. We have a tenant wellness program. Emma hung up. What Emma didn't know, Kevin Torres had been hired 3 months ago. He'd been recommended by a former employee, a maintenance contractor who'd been terminated for boundary issues with residents. Kevin owed that former employee a favor. Several favors, actually. And tonight, he'd been asked to make sure the 7th floor cameras had another glitch. At 10:18 p.m., Emma called Sarah. She was crying before her sister even answered. The call lasted 14 minutes. Emma broke down completely, sobbing, asking if she was crazy, asking if stress had finally broken her mind, asking why no one believed her. And then, for the first time, Emma agreed to leave. Okay, she said. Okay, I'll pack a bag. I'll come stay with you. Sarah nearly collapsed with relief. Emma grabbed an overnight bag, started throwing in clothes, toiletries, her laptop, phone charger. Then she saw it. On the floor near her bed, partially hidden under the nightstand, a small black rectangle. An SD card. Emma didn't use SD cards. Her camera was on her phone. Where had this come from? She plugged it into her laptop. The folder opened. Hundreds of files, photos, videos, all time-stamped over the past 4 months. She clicked the first one. It was a photo of her, sleeping, taken from above, from an angle near the ceiling. She clicked another. A video. Her in the bathroom, getting ready for work. The camera angle was from the vent. Another. Her getting dressed. Her crying on the phone. Her eating dinner alone. Her checking the locks obsessively. Months of her life. Intimate moments she thought were private. All captured. All watched. All recorded. Emma looked up at the air vent in her bedroom. Really looked at it. Fresh scratches around the screws. And when she stood on her bed to get closer, a tiny lens, barely visible, watching her right now. Emma screamed. She grabbed everything and ran. At 11:39 p.m., building cameras captured Emma leaving her apartment, overnight bag in one hand, laptop and phone in the other, face pale, eyes wide with terror. She ran to the elevator, pressed the button repeatedly, looked over her shoulder every 2 seconds. At 11:47 p.m., she called Sarah. You heard the beginning of that call at the start of this video. Here's what happened next. The elevator descended, 7 floors, 43 seconds. At 11:48 p.m., the doors opened with their usual cheerful ding. But Emma wasn't inside. Her phone lay shattered on the floor, her laptop beside it, screen cracked. The SD card, gone. Sarah called 17 times in the next 10 minutes. Every call went to voicemail. Building cameras covering the lobby showed no one entering or exiting for 43 minutes. Emma Hartley had vanished. But someone had seen everything. Someone who knew exactly when those cameras would be blind. By 1 a.m., Sarah had called building security, hysterical. By 2 a.m., police had arrived. By 3 a.m., apartment 7C was a crime scene. Detective Maria Rodriguez took charge. She listened to Sarah's account of Emma's final call, the SD card, the cameras, the months of surveillance. This isn't a simple missing person case, she said. This is predatory stalking. The forensic team found 3 spy cameras in Emma's apartment. Bedroom, bathroom, living room. All wireless, all professional grade, all with night vision. Based on dust accumulation and battery wear, they'd been there at least 4 months. Emma had moved in 6 months ago. Detective Rodriguez turned her attention to the vacant apartment next door, 7D. Inside, they found an empty energy drink can, a food delivery receipt dated 2 days prior, and, near the ceiling, an access panel to the ventilation system that connected to Emma's vents. Fresh scratches on the metal grate. And fingerprints. The prints came back within hours. Marcus Webb, 41 years old, former building maintenance contractor. Former? Robert Chen's face went white when Detective Rodriguez questioned him. We terminated him 3 months ago. There were complaints. He was entering apartments without work orders, spending excessive time in certain units, making residents uncomfortable. Which residents? Robert's voice was barely a whisper. Emma Hartley. The pieces clicked into place. Marcus had been obsessed with Emma from the start. When he worked maintenance, he had legitimate access to her apartment. He'd installed the cameras during one of those visits. After Emma complained, and he was fired, he continued watching remotely. The cameras transmitted to cloud storage. But the cameras needed battery changes, so Marcus used copied master keys to access 7D. He'd climb into the ventilation system, service the cameras through the shared ductwork. The figure standing outside Emma's door at 3 a.m. wasn't trying to break in. He was accessing 7D to maintain his equipment. But how had he avoided detection for so long? How had the security footage kept glitching at convenient times? Detective Rodriguez pulled Kevin Torres, the security guard, into an interrogation room. It took 2 hours, but eventually Kevin broke. Marcus had helped Kevin get the job. They'd met at a bar months earlier. Marcus had paid off Kevin's gambling debts in exchange for small favors, creating blind spots in the footage, ignoring Emma's complaints, looking the other way when Marcus needed access to the building. Kevin claimed he didn't know what Marcus was planning. He thought it was just a crush. He didn't know about the kidnapping until after it happened. Detective Rodriguez didn't care what Kevin knew. She had him on conspiracy charges regardless. Now, she needed to find Marcus Webb. Traffic cameras 3 blocks from the Riverside apartments caught a silver Honda Civic at 11:52 p.m. on November 17th, 4 minutes after Emma disappeared from the elevator. License plate KNJ 4721. Registered to Marcus Webb.
In the passenger seat, a woman, slumped forward, not moving. Cell phone records showed Marcus's phone pinging towers in 2 locations over the past months: the city, near Emma's building, and a rural area 60 miles northwest. Property records revealed a farmhouse rented under the name Mark Weber. At 4:17 p.m. on November 19th, 2 days after Emma's disappearance, Detective Rodriguez led a tactical team to the property. The farmhouse sat at the end of a dirt road surrounded by empty fields. No neighbors for miles. Marcus's Honda was in the driveway. The main house was empty. The team moved to a converted garage behind the property. They broke down the door. Emma Hartley was inside. She was alive. She was chained to a support beam by her wrist, sitting on a mattress in the corner. When she saw the police uniforms, she began to sob. Marcus was arrested 23 minutes later when he returned with groceries. He saw the police vehicles, tried to reverse out of the driveway, and was blocked. Taken into custody without incident. Emma was transported to the hospital. What happened during those 52 hours in captivity, Emma has never fully disclosed publicly. Court records, sealed at her request, indicate the assault went beyond kidnapping. Medical examination confirmed sexual assault. Emma has stated in interviews that those 2 days contained horrors I will carry forever. The man who had watched her for months, who had violated her privacy in the most intimate ways, had finally taken what he believed he was owed. In his farmhouse, police found a computer setup with 3 monitors still logged into the cloud storage containing Emma's camera feeds. Thousands of hours of footage. Emma sleeping, showering, working, crying, living her life in what she thought was privacy. They also found a journal, handwritten entries documenting Marcus's obsession. She doesn't know what she wants. She's too stressed, too focused on work. She needs someone to take care of her. I'm the only one who truly sees her. The final entry, dated November 17th. She found an SD card. She knows. She'll run. If she tries to leave, I'll have no choice. She belongs with me. Marcus Webb was charged with kidnapping, sexual assault, stalking, unlawful surveillance, and conspiracy. Kevin Torres was charged as an accessory. At trial, Emma delivered a victim impact statement that silenced the courtroom. You wanted me to doubt myself. You wanted me isolated, vulnerable, easy to control. You almost succeeded. But I trusted my instincts. Even when everyone else doubted me, even when I started to doubt myself, some part of me knew the truth. And that instinct saved my life. Marcus Webb was sentenced to 47 years without parole. Kevin Torres received 8 years for his role in the conspiracy. Daniel, Emma's ex-boyfriend, the man she'd initially suspected, was never involved. He'd been home, 3 miles away, completely unaware of Emma's nightmare. Sometimes the monster isn't the obvious one. Sometimes it's the person you barely noticed. The one who smiled politely while installing cameras in your ceiling. The one who watched you sleep for 4 months before deciding to take you. Emma couldn't return to apartment living. The thought of shared walls, unknown neighbors, anyone having access to her space, it was too much. A year after her rescue, she testified before the state legislature. Her advocacy led to new laws, mandatory background checks for maintenance staff, immediate lock changes when contractors are terminated,
stricter requirements for security camera systems, enhanced training for responding to stalking reports. The water filtration system she'd been working on launched 6 months after her rescue. Emma's name is on the patent. The product now provides clean water to communities in 12 countries. Her work changed lives, even as her own life was being shattered. Today, Emma lives in a small house on a quiet street. She designed her own security system. Cameras she controls, locks only she has keys to, alerts only she receives. She still talks to Sarah every Sunday. Their video calls remain sacred time. She still has hard days. Days when a stranger stands too close and panic floods her body. Days when an unexpected knock sends her spiraling. Days when she wonders if she'll ever truly feel safe again. But Emma Hartley survived. And in surviving, she became more than a victim. She became a voice for those who aren't believed. A reminder that when someone says they feel unsafe, we have an obligation to listen. Because sometimes, someone really is watching. And sometimes, trusting your instincts is the only thing that saves your life.